So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to many of us. Welcome to CEO Talk, a series conducted by CXO TV where a CEO narrates a story and share the learning and success of building a great brand. So today we have with us Chris George, co-founder and CEO of Qube Health. Welcome, Chris. How are you doing today?
Thank you. Thank you so much, Anuj. Hello, and it's so glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, Chris, I understand Qube Health is making impact in the healthcare. So before we dive into the discussion, let me understand a little bit about you guys, how this idea hatched into your mind to start Qube Health, and what problem Qube Health is solving in the healthcare ecosystem.
Sure. Thank you. In one sentence, if I were to describe, we're essentially solving the healthcare problem in India using finance. And the genesis for this really comes in from the fact that a majority of Indians either depend on health insurance or their personal savings to pay for healthcare. And the others depend on the earning members of the family, right? Now, when we depend on insurance, we're typically expecting insurance to pay for our healthcare, but the reality is that it pays for less than 30% of our healthcare needs. As a result, over 70% of healthcare expenditure that we all spend actually goes from our pockets. And those of us who can afford to, we have sophisticated means like credit cards and personal loans that are available to us. Others depend on our friends and family. Either which way, there is a financial cost or a emotional cost associated with it. So we felt that we need to be able to make a better way for us Indians to pay for healthcare. Credit became the first step in that direction. And that really is what we're trying to do.
Okay. So if I have to sum up, I think, do you call yourself more like a health Fintech?
Yes, it's actually Fintech.
There to democratize. Okay. Which is basically there to democratize the healthcare. And can I know like how to coin this term Qube Health?
Sure. The first was, when we looked at Qube as a brand, first is phonetically, we wanted to be as easy to be pronounced regardless of the language or where you came from, kind of like Sony. Second, we wanted to kind of give this image of Qube being a safe space where all of your health records and all of your health data and everything is kind of secured. So we take data encryption and anonymization and all of those things really seriously. And finally, the Qube logo in itself essentially comes in from a mythical concept of called the Metatron's cube, which is supposed to be this divine symbol in nature that is supposed to talk about everlasting life and all of those kind of things. So there is some sort of a mythical aspect associated with the way we came up with it.
Okay, so you talk about the security part of it. So probably I'll touch upon that in my subsequent question. So Chris, can you just provide an overview on how Qube Health is transforming the healthcare landscape in India by aggregating the vendors, insurance provider, and care providers into one customer-centric experience for employers and for individuals?
Certainly. So from our perspective, we want to change the way Indians pay for healthcare. Right? The way we pay right now is a very high friction experience. We pay using credit cards, we pay using cash, we pay using various other ways and means. We want to try and make it as frictionless as possible. In doing so, we have put together think of it like a marketplace or an ecosystem, which brings in lenders, payment companies, your employers, insurance companies, and of course the healthcare providers. And all of this seamlessly comes together in a simplistic manner. Essentially, think of it as using your phone to open the Qube app and simply scanning to pay any health or medical expense anywhere across the country. So it could be doctors, clinics, diagnostic centers. If you use the Qube app to pay, you get cashbacks that actually make it cheaper to pay through Qube. You have access to discounts. You have access to one of the largest marketplaces in the country. You also have access to no-cost credit. We provide essentially up to 10 lakh Indian rupees, roughly about $50,000 US or so, of 0% or no-cost credit with a payback period of up to 1 year. So what that means is, in case you need to pay for that Invisalign teeth straightening treatment for your teenage daughter, or you want to get a knee replacement surgery done, and these expenses are not covered within your health insurance plan, simply use the Qube app, make that payment, convert it into a equated monthly installment of your choice of up to 12 months, and the money gets deducted from your bank account at no interest at all. So that's how we've kind of made it simple.
Okay. So I like this word, frictionless healthcare, that really sounds good. So let me understand, like, in terms of the monetization, is it that you make money in lending, or is it more in terms of getting some kind of a commissioning through the care provider? How is it like?
Yeah. So first thing that we absolutely don't do is we don't make money on the lending. It's an intentional philosophy of the company. We believe that any kind of medical indebtedness is essentially bad karma. So we want it to be such that the money is always available to you for free. It should give you the power to be able to pay for the care that you need for yourself and your loved ones, right? But we are a for-profit. We are not a not-for-profit. We may be social impact, but the way we make money, therefore, is first. You as a user are onboarded only if your employer chooses to subscribe to us. So we are a B2B2C in that sense. And the employer offers this to you in addition to the health insurance that they are anyway providing. So it's an employee health benefit that's provided. We currently work with over 270 large corporates across India who provide this to about 250,000 employees across the country. Our intent is to cross 1 million over the next year or two. Second, we make money from the healthcare providers. We give them access to very good quality customers who actually pay upfront. So therefore, that is something that the hospitals and the clinics love, and they give us a finder's fee for that. And then, of course, there is the basics of the fintech, which is how you pay through which instrument. Essentially, there is a small exchange commission that comes in if you're riding off the payment system infrastructure. That's how we make money overall. But again, to recap, we don't make money on the interest. We don't charge any interest or any other fees.
So B2B to C is something pretty interesting. So is this something like where you outreach to the employers and just route it through them, or?
Yes, indeed. So this is essentially a B2B2C plan, which means for you to subscribe and have Qube available to you, your employer needs to sign up. So we speak to the HR teams, or we speak to the insurance brokers who speaks to the HR teams, and they bundle this and offer this as part of an overarching employee health benefit to their employees. That's how we distribute our product.
Okay, and you target the large enterprise, or is it the mid, or is it across?
Well, our ideal customer profile is an organization that has at least 1,000 employees. The largest employer that we have has got 40,000 employees, and the smallest that we've got is about 400. So that's a fairly wide spectrum.
Okay.
And our exceptions for taking on employers that are less than 1,000 could be because they are a unique industry or a unique brand. In that sense, 1,000 is typically our sweet spot.
Okay. So, Chris, could you just share some success stories or examples of how Qube Health approach has positively impacted employers and individuals, particularly in terms of the access to quality healthcare and financial security?
Certainly. I think it's pertinent to talk about how the world changed post the pandemic, right? Most employers were completely blindsided with the fact that the employees were now coming to them and telling them that, look, that health insurance thing that you had told me about, it's not enough. I need more money to pay for the care of my loved ones and my families. Can you give me a salary advance? And the employees had to make a choice. They had to either face with attrition or be known as a company that doesn't care, or actually make money available to kind of take care of the healthcare needs of the individuals. And most companies did, to be fair. But what's happened post the pandemic is the cost of healthcare has risen significantly.
Yeah.
Cost of health insurance has gone up significantly, which means it's becoming increasingly difficult for employers to maintain a corpus or to provide the salary advances. Cut to the employee themselves, right? They themselves are faced with a situation where their employer is paying a certain amount of premium to buy a health insurance for themselves and some of their family members, but they need to now make a addition to that by actually buying top-up insurance or actually keeping aside money to pay for these healthcare expenses. What impact we've been able to have is that every employee that is on our platform essentially has money available in the cloud through the Qube app. That money that's available, they can simply tap into and withdraw as small as 5,000 Indian rupees to simply borrow and pay for any health or medical expense across the country. Now, I put that in context, right? Typically, health insurance does not cover things like mental health. It doesn't cover electives, which are non-emergency, for example, dental, eye, skin care, etc., etc. If it covers maternity, there is a limit to how much it covers. In such situations, now the employee can simply access the Qube app, withdraw the money, pay the healthcare provider, and just convert it into easy installments at no cost. So it's a no-brainer in many ways. HR today is very happy to be seen as a company that cares. So our clients actually reach out to their employees and say, hey, look, we're a company that cares. We're giving you health insurance, but we are also giving you Qube credit. That's how we've been able to. My final statement on this is through the introduction of Qube Health Credit, we've been able to democratize access to healthcare and give power or give more control in the hands of the users, right? That's why my t-shirt says take control. Yeah.
So that sounds very interesting. Democratizing healthcare or empower users or the employees with the easy access to healthcare by providing the trade line to them, which is actually at no cost. And Chris, the health insurance and preventive care are gaining a lot of prominence. How does Qube Health contribute to fostering a culture of preventing healthcare?
Sure. Preventive healthcare is the cornerstone of essentially living a healthier, longer life. Right? And now, most of us, we don't really care about our health as much as we care about our family members' health. Right? So simply put, Anuj, if I were to come to you and say, Anuj, you must get a health checkup done, you'll be like, yeah, I know I need to do it. I'll just do it later. But if I came to you and said, look, you must get your parents' health checkup done, your kids' health checkup, your spouses, you will likely pay more attention, right?
Yeah.
And the starting point for that is to essentially get the health screening done at the right time. Now, in India, in many ways, thanks to the proliferation of diagnostic clinics, etc., the idea of doing these annual health checkups, etc., they've kind of gained a lot of traction, right? But most people approach it purely from a very commoditized standpoint. Let me go and get the silver executive health checkup plan or the gold health checkup plan. What we're talking about is if you know what your family's health history is, health condition is, then would you be able to plan better the screenings that you must do? So in that sense, we give you the ability to access all of these options using capital. So if you want to get a CT scan done, which costs 5,000 Indian rupees, okay, by all means, go ahead and do it. If you need an MRI, don't wait, to say that, okay, well, it's 15,000 rupees. I don't have the money right now. If you need to do a much more detailed analysis, go ahead and do that. So preventive care begins with the screening in itself, right? But the second is also other things, like, for example, mental health. If you need to speak to a counselor to talk about depression, anxiety, stress, and each of those sessions costs 1,500 rupees, you do not need to postpone it. So all of these become the cornerstones in many ways of approaching preventive care.
So basically, what I understand is like you provided means to personalize the health assessment and screening, and which help the individual identify the potential health risk, correct? And then take the proactive measures to address it. So with this, let me quickly come down to the next question, which is, the convergence of healthcare and the technology is very important, and it is shaping the industry. How does Qube Health leveraging technology to improve the healthcare payment experience and bridge a gap in healthcare access and affordability?
Sure. So first and foremost is, if you have theoretically, a large amount of money that's available at no cost, specifically for the purposes of healthcare, we hope that you will therefore not postpone the care that your family needs. So, for example, if somebody needs a cataract operation done, you will not wait for a year or two. You will get it done today. If you believe that you need to undergo a session or a series of sessions with a mental health counselor, you will not postpone it because it's too expensive. So deferment of care is usually one big problem area for a lot of people because there is no money that's available. So that's point number one, right? By providing access to capital, you're able to prepone care and then hopefully help you live better. Number two, indebtedness, because you have to spend your life savings to essentially pay for healthcare. In India there is a saying that you must save for the old age. What they really mean is you need to save for the old age to pay for healthcare, right? So you don't need to really think about having a catastrophic or a calamitous event to redeem all your lifetime savings to pay for the healthcare that you need. Today, if someone is a cancer patient, the costs are upwards of $70,000-$80,000. So you will not need to kind of do that. So that's the other bit, right? So we've been able to increase access. Lastly, where you spend, whom you spend on, how often you spend. These are all markers very similar to your health markers. It tells you the kind of things that you should be doing to kind of plan your healthcare life better. That is what we are hoping to do, help you do mitigation of health risk in many ways, like you would do mitigation of financial risk. That's what Qube Health provides.
Mitigation of health risk sounds pretty interesting. And now I quickly jump down to a question around the technology part of it, a bit around generative AI and AI-based technology. So how would you envision their impact on the healthcare industry, including the healthcare insurance and financing? What opportunities and the challenges do you foresee in adopting these technologies, and how Qube Health preparing to integrate AI solution into its offering to stay at the forefront?
No thing. Very pertinent question given the times that we are in. First and foremost, it all begins with privacy of data, right? The Indian government has just tabled the data protection bill. It should go into implementation really soon. At Qube Health, we were very conscious of this from our inception. We were GDPR compliant, even though we don't fall as under the European GDPR laws. We were very compliant with that. At this moment, we have over 6 certifications. I mean, we have 3 ISOs, and we are HIPAA compliant, and we are SOC 2 Type 1 and Type 2 compliant, etc. So we take data really seriously. So it is about assuring our users that their data is safe, it's anonymized, it's encrypted, and nobody has access to it. So that's point number 1. How generative AI is going to play a role in this is something that we are extremely conscious of, and we've got a team that kind of focuses and builds on this, right? So it begins with something as simple as, can AI actually make sense of your insurance policy, right? Most of us, when we read that document, you need a lawyer and an accountant to sit next to you to try and make sense of this, right? Most of us don't do that. We only come to know post facto. When you have an incident and you go to claim and they tell you this is the reason why it should work or why it will not. With all due respect to my colleagues in the health insurance business, the health insurance product is intentionally high friction, right? Because the less you claim, the more profitable it is. So in such a scenario, it begins with actually using AI to make sense. So can a normal person simply type in a question and says, here is my document. Can you please read this and tell me what is my cover? What are the inclusions? What are the exclusions? What are the hospitals that I can go to? And if I can claim, what is the likelihood percentage of it get claimed? It begins with that, right? So that's point number 1. Point number 2 is, let's say you go and get a complete full body checkup and a health checkup done, and you get this fantastic diagnostics report, and you do this for a certain period of time. Can generative AI actually find patterns in that data? Yeah. Right? And therefore provide certain predictive analysis. Today, whenever I do a health checkup, I have my GP that I call, and he's a family GP, so therefore he essentially takes a look at, and he has some of my family history in mind. So he'll say, Chris, well, I think we need to control this, you need to do this, etc. What if we are able to kind of remove that piece and use AI to be able to provide that insightful data? Would that make us help us manage our family's healthcare better? I think it would, right? Number 3, and finally, most important, depending on where I'm spending on healthcare, if it can tell me that, look, I think I've seen that you're spending consistently on these issues, it is likely that this may lead to a very large expenditure on Y, and therefore, I think you should take an insurance for this. And here are a few options that you should probably take. And that is, I think, actually helping humanity in many ways, right? So these are the things that we are working on.
Okay. Chris, please talk about Qube Health Global and the India footprint and its business achievement over the last 12 to 18 months.
Nothing. So we're a relatively young company. We've been around for 3 years, but we've seen tremendous growth, especially on the back of the pandemic. We've been able to now reach out to 270 large corporates across the country in India. We are, as it turns out, a very build for Bharat business, right? We are focused on the India problem. That doesn't mean that this problem doesn't exist elsewhere. Even in mature markets like the United States, out-of-pocket expenditure on healthcare, while as a fraction of its healthcare expenditure is just 10%, value terms, that's about $500 billion a year. In comparison, out-of-pocket expenditure in India is about 70%, but it's about 72 billion, 50 to 72 billion, depending on which report you read. What we've been able to do is we've been able to activate about 1,000 Indian crore rupees worth of credit line, approximately 150 million, if my math is right, in US dollars, of credit line that we've activated for about 250,000 users. This money is available at no cost to these individuals to borrow and pay for anything that their health insurance does not cover. So that's the first impact we've been able to do. We've been able to put together a combination of a fintech infrastructure that sits on a healthcare infrastructure in our country. We work with over 12,000 hospitals, clinics, diagnostic centers across India. We have a footprint that allows us to reach 753 towns/cities across the country. And we've been able to provide open access. What that really means is that the user can go to a small town, as long as they are a legitimate healthcare provider and they have a credit card machine, they'll be able to pay. So these are some of the things we did.
Okay. And a little bit on the expansion plan, over the next 2-3 years.
Well, over the next 3 years, we want to actually deploy over 3,000 crores in Indian rupees in healthcare credit. I would like to cross $1 billion of credit line in the next 5 years. This is our ambition, and that's what we are focused on.
Okay. And looking ahead, what are the trends and advancement do you foresee shaping the future of the healthcare and financial service, and how can the industry leaders prepare for these changes?
Sure thing. So three-part response, right? So the first is India has kind of been at the forefront in many ways, as you know, in the entire payments and the fintech infrastructure. And especially with the advent of payment systems like the UPI by the National Payments Corporations of India, or NPCI, with whom we work with, the payment has become a frictionless experience. Most of us just lift our phones and use Google Pay to pay, or Paytm, etc., to kind of make a payment. We believe that is going to expand significantly. The government and RBI and the NPCI is really focused on this. We want to be able to integrate that within the Qube system as well. Second, in healthcare in itself, a lot of healthcare providers, hospitals, clinics, etc., have realized that they need to rush in to fill in the gap and provide easy access to healthcare. This could be remote consulting and teleconsultation, but it also means care at the primary care level, right? So I believe that can also happen. Finally, to answer your question about how we can be prepared, I think it focuses on, number one, not technology for technology's sake, but technology for the impact on user behavior. We are a young population. The young population, as they age, they will have healthcare needs, and they have grown up on the internet. How can you actually provide access of payments and access to healthcare? That is what is going to kind of make a difference.
Absolutely. So with this, we come to the end of this episode, and I believe that technology is the enabler in bringing the change in the healthcare delivery system, and Qube Health is doing a great job in terms of democratizing the healthcare and empowering the individuals with the easy access to healthcare by providing the credit lines to them at no cost to pay for anything that health insurance doesn't pay. So with this, Chris, thank you so very much for such an insightful session. We really had a pleasure interacting with you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Anish, for having me.
For more updates from CXO TV, please like and subscribe to our channel.